You open the tab on a slow Tuesday night, the one called Retirement, and the balance reads $95,000. You scroll. The headline says the average 65-year-old has nearly $300,000. For the next 10 seconds, you do the only math your brain knows. You feel behind. You and I have been pointed at the wrong scoreboard. Not by accident. The number you compare yourself to was built by a handful of outliers. It was always going to make you feel like that. Picture this. You are a retired teacher. Your pension covers most of your spending. Social Security closes the rest. Every retirement calculator you have touched has told you, in pleasant blue fonts, that you are not ready. You are not behind. You are fine. The benchmark is broken. I sat with a couple last year, call them Dave and Linda, almost $3 million saved, 2 homes, 2 retired W-2s. They were beating every benchmark on the internet. They had a hidden tax problem worth more than most people's entire savings. Same data, opposite story, both calling the same number a verdict. I want to walk you through why the number is the wrong one and what to track instead. So let me show you what is actually happening inside that headline. Picture a dinner table. 9 households order soup. 1 household orders a wildly expensive bottle of wine. The average bill at that table tells you nothing about what most people spent. The published retirement average works exactly the same way. Here are the receipts. Vanguard publishes a report called How America Saves, drawn from nearly 5 million plan participants. The average balance for the bracket just before retirement is almost 3 times the median. Read that again, the average is almost 3 times the median. That is not a rounding error. That is a wealth distribution wearing a lab coat. The median is what the typical household actually has. The average is the wine bottle. The literal claim, said cleanly, in the years right before retirement, the published average misleads you because a small group of outliers pulls it up. You might think the average is still useful as an aspirational target. Sure, it tells you where the wealth concentrated. It does not tell you whether you can stop working. Different question. And if any version of that rule has been used to make you feel behind, drop which one in the comments below. What about Fidelity's rule that says 8 times your salary by 60, 10 times by 67? Or the 4% rule? For a simple paycheck and a simple pension, a reasonable sanity check. Not the answer. Track the gap, the total takes care of itself. That is the move. The only number that decides whether you can retire is the gap between what you spend and what arrives guaranteed every month, and whether your team is coordinated to close that gap without bleeding tax. 3 questions answer it. 1. What do you actually spend? Not the budget, the bank statements. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has spending data on retired households. And most families underestimate their real number when you compare what they say to what their bank statements show. Pull 12 months of statements before you trust any plan. If this is hitting, hit like. 2. What arrives guaranteed? Social Security for the average retired worker is about $2,070 a month. For a retired couple in 2026, that runs between $47,000 and $49,000 a year. Add any pension. That is your floor. Subtract it from question 1. The difference is what your portfolio actually has to cover. 3. Is your team coordinated? Investment advisor, CPA, estate attorney, 1 room with 1 plan, or 3 rooms with 3? That is where Dave and Linda's $3 million almost cost them. Open the worksheet from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services on Medicare IRMAA. The moment a married couple's modified adjusted gross income crosses $218,000. Medicare adds a surcharge that runs up to $487 a month per person on Part B alone. And it is calculated from the tax return 2 years earlier. 2 years earlier. Dave and Linda's CPA never told their advisor about a year of heavy IRA distributions. Their advisor never told their CPA. 2 years later, the surcharge hit. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody owned it. A Goldman Sachs survey found households with a written, personalized plan run 27% higher savings to income ratios. Coordination is not the soft skill of finance, it is the math. So I will say it one more time. The published average is set by a tiny group of outliers, and it lies to typical savers. The number that decides your retirement is not in any headline. It is the gap between your spending and your guaranteed income, and whether the people you pay for advice are talking to each other. Run those 3 questions before any benchmark gets a vote. And run them past a fee-only fiduciary who knows your full picture. If this reframed which number to track for you, subscribe to keep these coming. So how much income do most people actually retire on? I have that one queued up next. Catch you over there.